Well, thank you very much for joining office hours. I call it 1.2 because it's module 1, office hours 2 for COIS ADMN 1620, Introduction to Information Systems. This is today what I want to do is I want to recap a bit of what I talked about last week at extreme length, particularly for the people that didn't attend last week or didn't watch last week's office hours recording. And I want to discuss the discussions that are coming up in module 2. So because this is late in the week, I wanted to get ahead for the people that are going to be looking at the discussions early on, and I'll just sort of get the expectations out of the way and give you some idea of what I'm looking for in those discussions. So let's start with the recap. And again, I just remind you guys, if you have questions, feel free to put them in chat or jump in by audio, video, whatever you want to do. I will answer the same question over and over again in office hours for every week. I have no problem with that. What I can't do, as a reminder, is we've got 300 plus students in the class. I can't answer questions that I've already covered in previous office hours by individual email. It just doesn't scale well. I just can't do that. So to recap, we are in our module 1. We're coming down to our first deadlines or due dates, and bear with me, just switching screens here. So we've got tomorrow at 11:59, and that's 11:59:00 according to local time. We've got the practices 1 and the quizzes 1. So that is the quizzes for chapter 1, the quiz for chapter 2, the practice for chapter 1, and the practice for chapter 2 that are due. So the practices are worth 1% each, so 2% in practices, and the quizzes are worth 2%, so there's 4%. So there's a total of 6% on the line for module 1. This is specifically designed like that because up until tomorrow, we have new people joining the course, joining late to the course. So I keep the marks very minimal for the first module. It also gives you guys a chance to get into the swing of things and get up and going for the course. Starting next module, which officially starts on Monday, but will be released Saturday at 12:01 in the morning. You'll have a lot more marks. There'll be a lot more things to do in the 2-week module. So as a reminder, and most of you have done this already, there are 2 mandatory requirements in order to be able to see and write the quizzes. And that is the academic integrity module. You only have to do that once a year, but I need a screenshot submitted through Blackboard proving that you've done it this year. Okay. Many of you, I see the dates on your scores. Many of you did it in September, but there's a few of you that did not. So you have to do the academic integrity module. If you're looking for that, it's a course. It's a course like any other course. So you can find it there if you haven't done it already. I believe probably if you have done it already, it'll be in your grade book, and you can go through it as a course and open the grade book and present that screenshot to me. I gave a really good example of what I'm hoping to see in the actual submission, which is under assessments. So try and give me something very similar to that, obviously with your own name. And that is the crucial thing that 10% of students do not do, despite the instructions saying it in bold red. I need your name in it. So the fact that you can show me a screenshot that is 15 out of 15 and 3 5s for each of the modules with no names on it doesn't help me. I need to see that it's your name. Okay. And then the second requirement is the course requirements quiz. Our course requirements quiz is out of 20. There are 20 questions you need to answer. The answers for those questions are going to be found primarily in the syllabus, but secondarily in the course content general tab. There's a link for APA formatting, and there's a video on APA formatting. And of course, you've got the internet as a source as well. those are the two questions that are usually the hardest for people. Everything else is in the syllabus typically, and people don't have much problem with that. The complaints that I get from people are that they can't figure out how the APA formatting works. I took the questions, I took the examples, I may have changed the names and the titles in the examples straight off of the OWL Purdue APA format page that I provided a link to. Okay, you may have to go to different tabs on that page or different areas within the page, but that's where it came from. So if you're struggling with that, take the time. I give limited, every week you get 5 more attempts. So that's another question I'll address right now. I've had half a dozen people say, I've used up my 10 attempts. I'm going to miss quiz 1 and quiz 2, quiz chapter 1, quiz chapter 2. Can you give me some more attempts? No, I cannot. So I'm not giving any more attempts. As of Saturday morning, when I get up and get moving, I'll add another 5 attempts, which will be additional attempts. And then there'll be another 5 the Saturday after that, and so forth. So what you need to do is do the research, reach out for help with, peers, or reach out for help at the Academic Skills Center, wherever. But the answers are right there if you'll read the actual page that I provided to you. Okay, so it should not be that difficult. The reason that I require that is because as we move on in the course, we get to discussions. APA formatting is required, and I got really tired of correcting APA formatting in every single discussion submission for 300 students. So I deal with this up front so that you have to figure out how it works. You can do a citation and you can do a reference properly in APA in order to pass the course requirements quiz. Okay, so that's the rationale. That's why I did what I do. So if you've done both of those things and you've got, check your grade book, always check your grade book. You've got 1 out of 1 for your academic integrity module, and you've got 20 out of 20 for your course requirements quiz, then you'll start seeing the chapter quizzes. They will become available to you. That will allow you to do the quizzes. You can always do the practices, and in future modules, you'll always be able to do the discussions, but the quizzes themselves will specifically be held back until you've successfully done that. Now, that's worth 34% of your course overall, so I'm not suggesting that you wait on that or skip it. Make sure that you get the academic integrity module to me and get the course requirements quiz done. I have to manually mark the academic integrity module submission, meaning I've got to have eyes on it. So with that, if you submit that Friday night at 9 p.m. and you're expecting that you're instantly going to have me grading that so that you can write the quiz in the next 3 hours, change your expectations, okay? So get that into me as early as you can tomorrow. I will make sure before I end my day that I go through and I mark every single submission. Don't forget, there could be 100 of them. There's probably close to, well, maybe not 100, maybe 70 people that haven't done it yet. So there could be an awful lot of submissions here and in my other course that some of you are also in. So it's a fair bit of marking for me. The sooner you get it to me, the better. If you do it tonight, I will mark it tonight or tomorrow morning or whatever. Then you'll have all day to do your quizzes. In other words, just don't leave it to the last minute. Don't expect that I'm going to be up waiting for you to submit at your convenience when it was due last week. Okay. I think that's all I wanted to say about the mandatory course requirements stuff, the quiz and the academic integrity module. Yeah, please do check your marks. There's lots of people that don't bother to spend the time to watch these office hours. And unfortunately, I have no real way of reaching those people. But if you have a classmate or peer or whatever that is complaining to you that they can't see their quizzes, tell them to check their marks for those two things. They have to be perfect in order to release the quizzes. Once that's done once in the course, you're good. You're good for the rest of the course. So there's no other sort of requirements to get anything done. Any questions? Oh, sorry, I missed a whole bunch. I'm out of attempts. Yeah, I get that. That happens. You'll have to wait till Saturday. You'll have a crack at. You only missed 2 quizzes. You'll only miss 2 quizzes for this module. As of next module, there'll be 3 quizzes and 3 practices and a discussion. So it's worth a lot more the next module. So you're sacrificing 4% by not having correctly done the course requirements quiz. Spent so much time. No one can submit the quiz late. Once we get past 11:59:00 on Friday, the quiz is closing. It will not be reopening. It says that right in the syllabus. I just don't do that. It shouldn't. I hear that a lot. I'm spending so much time on this. Take your time and read the material. This is not meant to be a challenge. It's not a challenge, in fact. So if you slowly focus on just that, you don't have social media open, you're not talking to a friend, you're not listening to music, you're not doing whatever. If you focus on this, it is not that hard. Lots and lots of people have been successful in that, and thousands of students have done it successfully in the past. So the threshold is not high. Please just focus on it. I will not be offering hints or advice or anything like that, other than to say that the questions themselves use examples or exact parallels out of the OWL Purdue link that I did provide. Great question, Ari. The quizzes do show 0 out of 2 until the marks are released on Saturday. Yes, 100%. So I think I mentioned that. I'm not 100% sure that I mentioned that. I hold back and I'm pretty sure I did. I hold back the marks by design on your quizzes only. The practices show on your quizzes only until Saturday morning. So somewhere around 10 minutes after the quizzes close, all the marks are uploaded. Now, we've had some problems in the past with that, which has meant that I've had to manually add them. But in theory, at least, by the time you log on Saturday morning, or the next time you log on after Friday night, you'll see your quiz marks. Okay, so yeah, that's a great question. Don't want to lose my marks. Just a course quiz, not even important in the syllabus. That's the way it goes. So I'm not changing or making any exceptions for anyone. The course requirements quiz is required to be able to see the quiz. The problem with the APA question is that the other possible answers, sorry, it's scrolling as I'm talking, seem to me that they could also be used. I've checked and looked over the provided material. It seems that it supports the answers I'm giving, but I'm clearly wrong. Yeah, well, you're going to have to take the time to do the analysis and figure out where you're going wrong. Like I said, the vast majority of students in this class have already successfully done that, and that's that's neither here nor there. But if people are using up their attempts in sort of a random approach, they're going to run out of attempts. When I first did this, people used 45 attempts and just randomly answered until they got the right combination, and I don't play that game. So the mandatory course requirements is marked as being due tomorrow. You can always go ahead and submit it. The reason it's due each Friday is because I add the new attempts on Saturday morning. It automatically marks as long as it's not past due. So I update the due date for the mandatory course requirements quiz every Saturday to the next Friday. So It was actually due last Friday. So that's what's in the syllabus. That's when it's due. But I keep adding the 5 attempts every Saturday and bumping it another Friday. So it should have been mentioned that the course assessment will contain marks as we are not able to submit our quiz. It's clearly mentioned in the syllabus. I'm not going to get into an argument with this, with anyone about this. I've run this course for years at this point. This is how it is. Deal with it and do the work required to understand APA formatting to get the simple multiple choice or multiple answer questions correct so that you can move on. Okay. I'm not offering hints. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to give additional attempts. That's the way it is. That is the way the course is designed. It's designed purposefully that way. It's not punitive. It's so that people do the work, so that in the past, I've had just spent hours and hours and hours correcting people's APA formatting. And that's not my function, and it's a waste of my time. When we receive our grades for the quizzes, will we be able to see specifically what questions answered right or wrong? No, you will not. And I apologize if your question scrolled out of my screen here. There's lots of questions coming in with lots of people attending. So what I suggested to people last week was that they take screenshots of their answers. If you get perfect on the quizzes, you will know that every mark attained is perfect. If you don't, you're going to have to review it and figure out where you went wrong. The reason I do this is that the purpose of the quizzes is not for you guys to memorize a bunch of multiple choice questions and just repeat them back to me. The purpose of the quizzes is just to see how much you have understood. And I use those pools of questions again on the final. So you may see those questions again later on. Okay, so that's why I'm perfectly aware that students upload questions and answers, and that many of my questions are available on the internet in various websites. And I'm not going to verify answers for anything, so that when we get to the final, that people are, or when we go through quizzes, that people are just searching it online. I want you guys to read the textbook, watch the lectures, understand the material, and answer it correctly, hopefully. But I'm not going to provide answers. It's just not, I just can't do it in this day and age. If the internet did not exist, or there weren't these websites where all the answers for all the questions were placed, then I could take a different approach. But I just can't ask 175 different questions per chapter every year or every semester, because I teach this every single semester, 3 semesters in a row. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through, trying to deal with all the questions, make sure, scrolling back to the beginning to make sure I didn't miss any questions. Going back to the very first comment from Sean, it's not 6%, it's 4% that you can't access because you used 10 out of 10 attempts. You and I have had conversations by email. I think you understand exactly where I am. Blackboard just grades the practice out of 1, so it doesn't matter what percent you get on practice questions or if the practice is completed. So Carter, to answer that question, if you look in your syllabus, you will see how it works for the practices. Bear with me, I'm just scrolling to the module practices. So practices, it's the 4th point there. Under 60% is 0, then 60%, 80%, and 100% are the thresholds. So I think it goes up. I'm honestly not sure. I'd have to look at it. You'll get like 50%, and then 75%, and then 100%. depending on where you score. But the thing about the practices, if you haven't done them already, is that you can keep going over and over and over again, and the software will give you more questions on the areas that you're having trouble with. That's the purpose of them. It gives you a chance to prepare for the quiz and to make sure that you understand all the material from the chapter. So you will get to 100% as long as you just keep going, okay? Let's see. Quiz. Receive our grades would be specifically. I answered that. And again, sorry, Cassandra, for missing that question. First of all, there was one question on the mandatory quiz that I could not get right at all and ended up using all of my attempts. I think we have covered that. Would it be okay to set up an online study group for this course? Certainly feel free. You've got the discussion board where you can kind of meet to coordinate that. Start a thread there would be my suggestion. The course, like in general, and I understand that people are, I don't want to be unsympathetic. I just also don't want to be bombarded by email when I've made my position really clear. The course itself, if you do the work and read the chapters and do the practices and do the quizzes, you're going to do well in the course. The course is very easy, I'll say, to get an A mark if you do all the work. The people that fail the course, and I think I disclosed that it was 25% of people failed the course last term, were the people that didn't do the work. They never, ever even tried to do the academic integrity module or the course requirements quiz. They didn't do any quizzes. They didn't hand in any discussions. They didn't do any of those things. And of course, they got to the end and they, no matter how well they did on the final, they couldn't pass the course. So it's a matter of discipline, and I've set out a clear schedule. So use the 2-week periods to get everything done, so that you're not waiting until the Friday, the every other Friday, to hand everything in, because it's a lot of work to do on one day. Okay. Okay. Can I use the OWL Purdue APA citing bot to cite my reference list? So yeah, you can do whatever you want if we're talking about the discussions, and I'll certainly talk about that. What I find is that, I mean, Word has a built-in citation, whatever bot, if you want to call it that, or function that you can use that will put things in APA format. What I find though is when you scan a website, you put an article in there. Often these bots or these apps are not very smart, so you have to review it. And every year I get lots of really weird results where people haven't bothered to look. So that's why I want you to know how APA format looks. Use whatever tools you want, but check those tools and make sure they're pulling the right information. Like in a lot of cases, when you say you're on a website that's got a blog or something like that, sometimes you have to click on the author to get the group of people that actually wrote it, or you click on a link to go to the author's biography or whatever. You need to make sure that you actually cite things and you get an author if an author is available. Okay. All right. Just scrolling through questions here, making sure that I've covered everything. Yeah, it's Will makes a good point. The APA questions, remember that there are multiple answers, okay? So I always try and say choose all that apply. In Blackboard, If the button beside the question is round, it's a multiple choice, meaning it's a radio button, what we technically call a radio button, and only one answer works. If the box beside the answer is square, it means that you can choose from one to all of the answers. Okay, it's a multiple answer question. Okay, I see that people are exchanging email. That's great. Help each other. Ari was responding about the practice. It's not that you have to get the number right in a row, it's that you have to cover all areas. So it will circle back and it will keep giving you questions from the areas that you have not passed in the practice, and it'll keep doing that until you answer them all correctly. So I guess it seems like they're all in a row, but it's not counting the number in a row, it's just making sure that you answer the questions properly. Do you know the percentage of people that got an A last year? Yeah, it was also around 25%. So what I had was 25%. And keep in mind that of the 25% that failed, some got like 1 out of 100, right? They started the course and never withdrew from the course. So there were people with 3.5%, right? So it's not, I'm not talking about people that put effort into the course. The vast majority of people that failed didn't put any effort in the course, or did a couple quizzes or a couple practices and quit. Okay. I had approximately just a little higher number of people got A's than failed in the final assessment. Okay. For set of discussions. Okay, so let's talk about the discussions now. I think I've covered all of the questions so far, but what I wanted to talk about primarily in new information, because everything that I've said up until this point I've covered already last week, is the discussion. So when we get into module 2, you're going to see when it opens up on Saturday morning that you have a discussion to do. So, sorry, bear with me. Read, attend. Okay, so it's going to be discussion 1, and it's going to be due on the last Friday, just at the same time as the practices and quizzes. And you're going to want to do that with 400 to 500 words per answer. So there's going to be 2 answers. So each question, you're going to have a question. You're going to find it under assessments. There'll be a folder called discussions. You're going to find your discussion 1 is going to be in there. Typically what it is a newspaper article or something similar. It'll have a picture at the top. It'll have a brief story, maybe a link to an article that you'll follow and read, and then it'll ask you 2 specific questions. Okay, I am looking for 400 to 500 words per question, so a total of 800 to 1,000 words, and each one of those 2 questions should have 3 cited references in APA format. So we're going to use APA format to do a reference list, and we're going to have in-text citations with that as well. Okay, so you'll open that up. It will stay open. Just make sure that you don't save it. And sorry, you can save it. Don't submit it until you're ready for it to be marked. Once it's submitted, it's submitted. Okay, you won't be able to get it back. There will be again a pool of different discussion questions. Not everyone's going to be answering the same question. And if you were allowed to sort of start over or do a second submission, it would probably be a different question. So you'd be starting over anyway. So once you've submitted your discussion, that's when it's finalized, but you can save it as you go. Remember as well that Blackboard is evil and Blackboard likes to destroy formatting. So I provide instructions in the question as to how to get around that, which is to paste it in without formatting, paste it, stripping the formatting away, and then reformat within Blackboard. You can build it entirely in Blackboard. I don't advise that because Blackboard can be quirky and it can just not refresh or not save your work. So my suggestion is to open it up, get your question, and work on it in Word or something like that, and then copy and paste it while stripping the formatting. So Alt Control V, and paste that in without formatting, and then reformat it within Blackboard itself. But again, I provide those instructions for you in the question itself. Okay. I'll maybe just go over those specific directions just for you. Bear with me for a second. So before you even begin, the instructions pop up. And so it says there are 2 short answer questions per discussion. You know that. You will only have one chance to submit. So save your answers regularly, but do not submit until you're done. Each question's answer should be 400 to 500 words. Each question's answer should have at least 3 cited references in APA format. And it's important, the cited reference. Don't just give me a reference list, cite the reference within the body of your text. Avoid reusing references in both answers. If you've got one in common, that's not a big deal, but if you try and use the 3 same references in both, you're not going to get full marks for your references. Reference quality matters, so use reputable sources. So you should always start, if possible, with peer-reviewed articles, so Google Scholar, and work your way all the way down to websites and blogs and things like that aren't very reputable. Proofread your answers for grammar, punctuation, spelling. There's marks for that. Please use paragraphs. Please read it over. If you do it externally in Word, at least Word will check your spelling and some of your grammar for you and help you in the quality of your response. Avoid using first person. So first person is I, we, he, those sorts of things. So don't say, in my opinion, in my experience. If I ask you for an opinion, state it as fact. So if the question says, in your opinion, which of these 2 is the better choice? State it like the better choice is da 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 da, and then put a citation after that and your reference down below. So make it a statement of fact and back it up with citations. Okay, so that's sort of academic writing as opposed to first person. In my opinion, the grass is green, or in my experience, the grass is always green, etc. The grass is green, and then a cited source. Okay. And I talked to you about Blackboard ruining formatting. So Shift, I think I said Alt Control V. It's Shift Control V to paste things without formatting into Blackboard and then reformat. Avoid using direct quotations and instead paraphrase. So some people think that the best way to write a scholarly paper is to quote a lot of other scholarly papers. It is not. Please paraphrase whenever possible. it's difficult to read, first of all, something that's just a whole bunch of quotes strung together. And it's really difficult to market because you haven't put an original thought or a spin in there. So paraphrase so that you demonstrate understanding of the material, what people said, and avoid doing too much quoting. And by too much, the absolute most quotes that you should do in a 400 or 500 word mini essay is one. That's the absolute top, and you should probably avoid it entirely. I would advise you to do that. Revise. So don't give me your first draft. Take the time to write it out. Maybe spend the first week doing a draft, and then in the second week, take a look at it, reread your stuff, and make it better. Okay. Due at 11:59. We've gone over that. It will not be reopened, and no late submissions will be accepted. Okay. I just want to check my marking discussions. There's 4 of them. They're worth 24%. So each module that they're in, module 2, 3, 4, and 5, there's 6% worth of discussion. So, and since there's 2 questions per discussion, it's 3% per question, 6% per discussion. So we will 100% for sure, I promise you, get you feedback by the first Friday. So when you submit, you'll submit on a Friday by 11:59. By the next Friday, halfway through the next module, which will be module 3, we will have very detailed feedback for you. Okay, so that you can use that information to make your discussion 2 much better than your discussion 1 if you didn't get the mark that you were looking for. Please review that feedback. We spent a lot of time to do that. We'll give very detailed feedback for discussion 1 and discussion 2, and after that, not so detailed, because we just end up saying the same thing, and there's lots of people that don't read the feedback and don't learn from the feedback. So we avoid that. In the past, many, by the time we get to discussion 3 and discussion 4, most people are getting perfect on the discussions. Okay. And because they've digested the feedback and they understand exactly what it is that we want. Now, we've got another office hours in a week, obviously. And at that time, hopefully you've had a chance to at least start looking at the discussion. So I'll happily deal with questions there and give advice at the office hours. Okay. I think that's all that I wanted to cover. Is there anything else? I'm just looking at the questions. First set of discussions, will receive feedback. Yes, definitely. Any other questions, guys? Anything else that I can help you with? All right. If not, please feel free to get on with your evening. Sorry, I'm getting tired. Thanks very much for coming to the office hours. I think that anyone that is coming regularly to the office hours or watching videos is going to do way better in this course. That's what experience teaches me. The people that I see not doing well in the course, I also don't ever see in the office hours. So this is a good step and a good idea to do this. Please enjoy your weekend, get your submission in on Friday, and then you're free of the course essentially until next Monday, though it will be available for you to review if you want to get a jump on it. So thank you very much and have a good evening, guys.